So relatively recently, Mojang began updating villagers for the very first time since Minecraft 1.14. Mojang's latest round of villager updates does some pretty substantial things. It removes some trades, it adds some trades, and changes some pretty gigantic game mechanics. A little more specifically, this buddy right here, the librarian villager. After this update, these things may never be the same again. Now that we've had a little bit more time to mess with and test with these villager experiments, today we set out to answer one simple question. Has Mojang ruined Minecraft villagers? You let me know your take, and as always, down below, erase that untapped like button. Let's go. So first things first, lads, two things. For today's science experiments, I've one, not only put on my science goggles, but two, decided to split this video into three separate parts. And part number one will be going over the basic mechanics, and part number two will be running through a semi-survival test. Finally, in part number three, we'll be concluding things and talking about what could potentially change to make them better, if they need to be better. For chapter 1 of our saga today, it is best we go straight to the source. To cut straight to the source for this one, it's going to be over to Minecraft Snapshot 23W31A. Oh, I never thought we would get so nostalgic so soon in the video. Minecraft Snapshot 23W31A. This is the very first snapshot for the Minecraft 1.20.2 update. It dropped right at the beginning of August and introduced all of this villager madness. Ever since this snapshot, things have never been the same inside of the experimental toggle. And that's because we got a brand new experiment right here. If you want to check out any of these villager changes inside of your world, first, you need to turn this on. Now, as a small side note, something to keep in mind, today we're running all of these tests on Minecraft Java, but they're coming to Minecraft Bedrock Edition. There's the same experimental toggle, and they're actually exactly the same over on this version of the game. The Wandering Trader. When it comes to our first chunk of changes, I don't think anybody's really complaining. The Wandering Trader is allegedly, potentially going to get way more useful. The Wandering Trader, once this update drops, if it drops, it'll actually be able to buy things from you. The things that it buys are pretty common basic things that you'll be able to find. The Wandering Trader will also be able to sell you new things and for different prices too. Some of the prices have been lowered, some of the trades are brand new here. For a brief text-based summary on all of the Wandering Trader changes, here it is. Pause the video right here. Villager, Millager, Matager, Villager. Oh boy, not to get too controversial so quickly here, but the villager changes. The villager changes are really the big changes here. You see, Minecraft is a game, and skipping a lot of essential details in between, we eventually get to different biomes and villagers. Inside of different biomes, we have different village types. As of the recording of this video, the only changes that are really happening here have to do with one specific type of villager. The wandering librarian, yeah. More specifically, these changes change what a villager can and can't sell when it comes to enchantments. After this change, enchantments are biome locked. For an arithmetic explanation of all of these villager changes, here you go, my friend. Go ahead and pause the video at some point, couple points, and read them all. So that's basically our what. I should definitely say that I'm testing all of this stuff out as of the latest snapshot. You never know. A future snapshot could adjust some of these things, but at this point, it's starting to look a little bit unlikely. Moving on, for this next part of the video, the main part, we move on to what I will call our semi-survival experiments. For this part of the video, lads, I will be making a brand new world with a 100% random seed. Inside of experiments, we're going to turn that one on and, well, I mean, because I can do whatever I want, we'll turn this one on too. These experiments and tests will be done in semi-survival. Brand new, fresh Minecraft world. I will never get over this feeling. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. So much promise inside of this world. Now, at this point, I'd like to test the Wandering Trader, which means now I stand around for 1 hour's time.
1 hour later.
Bingo boingo. That's why we get to semi-survival experiments. The Wandering Trader spawning in mechanics have not changed at all. Wait around inside of your world for a little bit of time, and eventually the Wandering Trader, accompanied by 2 llamas and 2 precious leads, will pop up. Then after that, you can walk up to the Wandering Trader and question it, interrogate it, as in look at the trades. Wandering Trader changes here. Like I said earlier on, I don't think I've seen one single complaint about any of these changes. I mean, sure, look, it's a little bit early on in my world, day 0, to expect to do a little bit of bartering with the merchants here, but I mean, what would be the problem, theoretically, with being able to buy some cheap things from you and better, more affordable prices? I don't think there is a single problem with the Wandering Trader changes. The baked potato is a pretty big one. This is a relatively easy thing to find, maybe even day 1 and start farming. Say, I don't know, day 5 or however long it takes for the Wandering Trader to pop into your world. That day rolls around, and then all of a sudden, it wants to maybe potentially buy some of that food from you. Go ahead and sell the food just a tiny bit. All of a sudden you get an emerald. Because our trades can be random, mixed, matched anytime, you could maybe have a useful trade to turn that emerald into something even better, or maybe you don't. Maybe like, say, you're lucky and you have a sapling right here. Well, gather up a couple more emeralds and all of a sudden you got a brand new tree type. At the least, you can recycle it back and maybe get some like extra building supplies or something. I will go as far to say that these proposed changes, if introduced into the game, will actually make the wandering trader actually useful. Pretty good even. And so with that, semi-survival experiment number 1, we're gonna call it check done good. The wandering trader, I don't think there is any problem with any of the proposed changes. In fact, the changes should make it into the game immediately. Alright, so next up, still inside of our semi-survival world, the next step is going to be set out into the Great Blue and locate a village somewhere. Thankfully, the greatly updated Wandering Trader is helping me out with this process big time. You see, I don't even need to chop down a single tree. Theoretically, I could just wait around inside of the world, farm potatoes, and eventually start stocking up on wood. So locating a village and specific biomes in Minecraft is something we've been talking all about inside of the Minecraft Guide series. For today's semi-survival experiment, we take this seed and leave. Of course, if we want to check out any of these villager updates, first we need to actually locate a village. What I'll do is I'll put the seed inside a chunk base right up there, scroll down, and look for the closest village, which looks like it's going to be, from spawn at least, either a savannah village right there, or a plains village, all the way across the ocean right there. That one could be pretty close too. Of course, one tiny bit of sailing later, and chunk base has not let me down. Village, sweet, beautiful village, you are mine. We move into the village and we look around at what's going on here. In normal survival fashion, I could maybe loot this whole crop farm and claim it as mine. In normal survival fashion, I could run around and look at the nitwits. You fool, you're pointless. Your life is meaningless. And last but not least, most importantly for today, we could scour the entire village in search of one single librarian villager. Which doesn't look like there's one here. So right here, look, this is why I call this a semi-survival experiment, because let's be honest. Oh, this is awkward. Let's be honest, when it comes to our basic villager mechanics and survival and everything like that, you kind of know how it goes. Like, you explore in your world, maybe you get a little bit more established, eventually you locate a village. To re-roll this villager's profession over to the desired one, it's easy. All we need to do is place the new workstation, remove the old one. After we place the new workstation, we get to challenge number 1, and that's going to be re-rolling trades. To start testing out these new mechanics, the first thing I'd like to find out is how easy is it to actually see the new biome-exclusive enchantments. To quote the wonderful Miss Spice, like, more specifically, let's say I was looking for, I don't know, the Smite enchantment or something. If I was looking for Smite, how hard is it to actually get that? How I see it for this part of the experiment, this is basically like testing the old villager mechanics and comparing them against the new ones. This part is going to be pretty much the same. We place a lectern down, we don't get the trade we want, so we place a different lectern. Then we break lectern number 1. Hopefully you walk right over here. Yes, no, yes, maybe. Yeah, you take the long way. You walk over here and we check it again. Okay. And just like that, Smite 5. That's the best level. That was really, really easy. Alright, well, that was really, really easy, and to be honest, I think that's how the case is going to go over the rest of the experiment. If you're looking for a specific enchantment, as long as you know the biome that you're going to be able to find that enchantment in, I think finding that specific enchantment is going to be easier than ever before, actually. But look, I play Minecraft, I know. Usually you're maybe not looking for like a Thorns enchanted book or Bane of Arthropods or something, but if you are looking for something more specific, like let's say Depth Strider, let's say Power, let's say Infinity, as long as you know the biome, I think it'll be easier. If we think about how it is right now and want to talk about the specific number of trades that a Plains Librarian villager could offer, like different enchantments, whew, that's a pretty high number. After these changes are introduced, if you break out every single level of each enchantment into a different trade, we have a total of 12 different possible trades here. That's way easier to re-roll through. Under these proposed new changes, every single biome's villager has the same max level trade, or like the same enchantment. Sliding back over to the chart here, this is going to mean every single time we get a desert villager all the way up to a max level, it'll sell an efficiency 3 enchanted book for a random price. So next up, this is where that semi-survival stuff comes into play again. What I'd like to test here is how difficult is it to actually get that villager all the way up to the max level. For a librarian villager, I mean, look, I don't even need to guess here. I don't even need to bet. I have the experience. Getting this thing all the way up to a max level is relatively easy, especially if you have all of the materials. One of the easiest ways to level a librarian villager up is going to be a paper farm. The thing is so simple. Find some sugarcane inside of your world just like that, plant it down. Maybe, I don't know, get a little bit more spicy with things and make a fancy farm, lining the entire shore or something. Reroll your friend's initial trait a couple times until you see paper or something like it. Then from that point on, it's going to be pretty easy to level this guy up. Look, I will be honest, if you're trying to speedrun the mending trade, well, that's going to be a whole lot more difficult now. It's going to be way more tricky to actually, like, get a librarian villager, level it all the way up to the max level to get mending. But inside of a normal world, if you're not trying to rush things, because all of the other villagers have been left unchanged, it's actually, like, pretty straightforward. Depending on whatever you're doing in your world, maybe you got a spider farm, pull like the fisherman villager into the mix here and get emeralds that way. Continue raking up emeralds through all of your villagers, just like you usually would, until eventually you get a max level villager. And that's where I'm gonna call it for the second part of the experiment. I fully realized we didn't like hardcore test it extremely, but to do that, you'd have to have a more established world anyways. I will say that this part of the experiment is left unchanged. Compared to how it is right now, before these experimental changes, this is left 100% unchanged. Nothing is different. It's not harder, it's not easier. And that, legends, brings us to leg number 3 of our experiment today. Oh boy, the tricky one. Specifically, mending. How difficult is it going to be to get a mending villager going forward here? So to get a mending villager, we're going to need the swamp villager specifically. To get a swamp villager specifically, because there are no villages inside of the swamp biome, we're going to need to get a couple villagers, bring them over to the swamp, and then have those villagers breed up. To have them breed up, I mean, it is relatively easy. We get 3 beds, a little bit of food, throw them the food like that. The love admin, go ahead. Beautiful, very quick. Did I bother you? Maybe I messed it up. Aha, you are the mother right there. Just like that, no time at all. We got a brand new, beautiful baby villager. But this is the plains biome. And that villager is a plains villager. We need the swamp. Back over inside of this village that I have not been tormenting and ransacking at all today, we will go ahead and put a boat down. Then we'll put a villager inside of it. Then we'll jump in the boat. Now this next part, lads, is painful. I mean, I can't complain too much. I got lucky with a village next to an ocean. But oh boy, if you didn't, you're in for a journey. Probably the best way to move villagers around right now in Minecraft, it's gotta be boats. If you're lucky like me, you got a village next to an ocean, well, chef's kiss is not gonna be too bad. But if you don't, good luck. We can expand on it even farther and say that nowadays, Minecraft 1.18 and up, rivers work better than ever too. So if you have a village next to any kind of water, maybe it won't be too bad. In semi-survival, from approximately where that village is, we need to find either the plain old classic swamp, or we need to find the brand new, freshened mangrove swamp. Which both are gonna be equidistant, pretty far. So look, when it comes to moving villages across land, easy, yeah, it is not exactly the best word for it. You see, I guess at nighttime, you could probably use beds. Like, you could place a bed on the land, the villager will walk over to the bed, jump into the bed like that. You could, like, break the bed, and then you could move the bed a little bit farther, something like this, and then it should probably do it again. Nowadays, the villager pathfinding, as long as you don't go, like, too far away, it's, like, really not bad. Like, it is definitely realistic to say you could use beds or maybe even workstations to move this guy across the land. The problem with moving the villager at nighttime with beds is, well, nighttime though, so not so fast, buddy. So beds and workstations, I mean, technically it would work, but it's not exactly a fire spicy option, is it? Like, you probably experienced it yourself, but moving across the land, cutting through a forest, you never know, there's a mob that pops out, surprise, blows up your villager, or all of a sudden you got a lava pit that you fall into the lava, and it's not very good. I see water, like, just out of sight, but imagine having to move this villager all the way up this hill, across the forest and over to the water, just to continue. I'm still, like 300 blocks away from the closest swamp. That's, like, a lot. Thinking about maybe how I could make this slightly easier on myself here, I guess. If I explored a little bit beforehand and tried to, like, find a swamp biome nearby, maybe with, like, an elytra from the sky or something, and then locate an easy way, I guess that could work, but that's a whole lot. While I continue to sail, a couple other options for moving villagers around, I definitely have not forgotten minecarts, but seriously, let's be honest, am I really going to build a minecart rail line over a hill and down a hill all to just move a villager a couple times? That's really expensive, And also the nether. I guess the nether could work, but again, it's quite a bit of setup to actually move a villager through the nether.
1 hour later.
Finally, at long last, after traveling through not 1 but 2 Minecraft days, I have successfully moved 1 villager over to the swamp. After this whole process is finished, I would need to go all the way back over to the closest village and repeat the whole process 1 more time. You see, if I want to make baby villager, then I would need to bring 2 villagers over to this swamp biome, a couple beds and a little bit of food. After I'm successfully able to move these villagers over to the swamp biome, place some beds down, and then throw them a little bit of food, in theory, as long as they're actually in the right biome, which I think technically they might even be in the wrong spot, which would be terrible. I have to move them inland a little bit more, but as long as they're in the right spot, like this part is easy. Breeding check done, not a problem, but it's the transportation. If I don't have any water nearby, how in the world would I move the villagers like a couple thousand blocks? That's annoying. So I think we're ready for our conclusion of this part of the experiment, and that is tedious, annoying, not really fun at all. Moving villagers around your world, they do have a mind of their own, and you could use that to your advantage in some ways, but also it's just annoying. If you don't have water like I had here where I got lucky, that is going to be really annoying, and even when I had water, it was still really tedious, like not really enjoyable at all. And keep in mind that all of this is not factoring niche experiences into the equation. Like, what about like single biome worlds or like super flat worlds where there's no specific biomes? If you're looking for one of those juicy biome linked enchantments, like let's say, I don't know, mending or something, then it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to get. Not impossible, because you have things like maybe fishing or looting structures, but more difficult for sure. So through all of the experiments that we ran today, the big standout one is the one that we just ran. The single biggest problem with these villager changes, based off of the tests I ran, has got to be moving the villager around. Basically, if you don't have water, it's going to be a huge project. If these proposed villager changes make it into the game, it's clear something needs to change when it comes to villager transportation. Now, these changes could come in a couple different ways. Option number one, you hold an emerald and then the villager is like tempted. It will just follow you, kind of like when you hold a carrot with a pig. Option number two, a lead. Of course, as you probably know, you cannot put a lead on a villager right now. But if you could put a lead on a villager, look at this, you don't even need to tempt it. You could just like pull the villager around a little bit. Like look, it's obviously not ideal, but you could combine leads and a little bit of water and like move a villager a little bit more efficiently. Not too bad. But it's Minecraft 1.20 nowadays. Instead of Minecraft 1.20, they added a camel. And the camel, what is it? Oh, it's a 2-player rideable mob. You can put one player on the front, one player in the back. The back is the passenger, the front is the player. The camel could potentially be perfect for this situation. You go out into your world, you find the camel, then eventually you ride the camel over to a villager. While you're mounted on the camel, if you bump into a villager, the villager is thrown onto the back of the camel. After that, you could use the camel to really efficiently travel across the land. Like, not a problem at all. To get the villager off of the camel, when you dismount the camel, maybe the villager pops off as well, or you like a shift and click on a villager, and it'll kick the villager off of the camel too. Problem solved. Solution numero dos. Basically put it back to how it was before, but definitely not exactly how it was before at all. So if we tap on a villager and we look at this trade right here, we see smite. If we put it back to how it was, that would mean that we would still have the chance to see mending right there in trade number one. Maybe that shouldn't be the case here, but maybe you should be able to get mending in any biome still. Or, of course, any of these other unique enchantments, that too. But maybe it's just absolutely 100% never going to happen in that first level trade. Like, you'll never be able to tap on a villager and see the really, really powerful enchantment right there. You would have to, like, trade with the villager a couple times, and then you'd have, say, like, I don't know, a 30% chance to see it in, like, trade 2 or 3 or maybe even the final one. I do think the predictability of this new system is good, and it's cool, too. Like, if you have a swamp villager, it's always going to have mending. It's nice. The easiest way to get around transporting the villagers, though, is just not transporting the villagers at all. You add a randomized equation in here where, like, maybe you have an extra trade, and with a desert, it could be any of these ones. Like, I don't know, 20% chance for each one, or whatever that would add up to. Last but not least, my friends, I'm so sorry about this, but it is now the middle of the night. So I was looking through my comments, trying to find the individual comment that originally suggested this because genius, chef's kiss amazing, the zombie villager. Zombie villagers, as you know, these lads will randomly spawn from time to time around your world. Now, sometimes they'll spawn in an outfit. What if this outfit had a random chance, like, to spawn as any outfit in the world? Like, you could have a zombie villager spawn inside of the plains biome, and it's just like a zombie villager from the swamp. If you were to say, take these zombie villagers and have them spawn maybe even a little bit more frequently, just a tiny bit, and they could have any outfit in the world, then you would capture it, heal it up, and it's still a swamp villager, but it's inside of the plains biome. And this could go for any type of villager as well, like not only the swamp one, but you'd be able to find a jungle villager anywhere in the world. You'd be able to find a taiga villager anywhere in the world too. This would make making villager trading halls without moving villagers around like really, really easy, especially late game if you got golden apples and potions and everything like that. You want to talk about lore, this could also play into the villagers' lore a little bit. Like, the villagers, they were probably travelers in ancient time, going from settlement to settlement. Maybe some of them got lost along the way and, unfortunately, zombified. And you could choose to rescue them if you wanted to. Look, we've already talked a lot today. This is a long video, and I'm kind of sorry about that, but what do you think? How would you fix villager trading? Or do you think it's perfect right now? Your juicy thoughts, takes, and opinions, throw them down in the comments below. And smash like if you haven't yet. Subscribe for more. Thank you all so much for watching our science experiments today. Hope you had fun. The patron gang, big shout out Michael H, CK, Skelly Wampus, Ape Marie 23, and Autumn BC 1117. I'll see you all tomorrow.